And if I'm honest with y'all, they had a hell of a season. They had a hell of a season. Once again, it's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Coming to you with Pistons content, NBA content. Excited to get to you this morning to talk about these Houston Rockets because there's so many parallels between the Houston Rockets and the Detroit Pistons. So many parallels. What they have built in Houston is really reflective of what the Detroit Pistons have been building this season. I would say that we're in a similar position they were in last year, except there's some specific things that I think that we can learn from what we saw against the Golden State Warriors that we can kind of resemble or reflect upon when it comes to what this Detroit Pistons roster can potentially be. And as I said in the heading, I think we are better than many of us think. Not than I think. I think this is a championship team. I think these Detroit Pistons are a championship team. I think these Detroit Pistons have what it takes. This core, this Cade, Ivy, Asar, Duran, Stewart, Holland, Sasser, potentially Clintman, Tolu Smith. These guys are a championship core. I don't know if Tobias Harris will be here when we make our run. I said before, we have 2 more years. We have 2 more years. Not next season. The season after, we will be knocking on that door to be a contender. We will be where Indiana was last year, if not this year. And then the year after that, we will be a championship contending team. And I want to dive into that in this video. But once again, if you are enjoying this live, it is an interactive live. Sometimes I get rolling, the chat gets heavy. If you drop me a super chat, I'll pause and pivot, and we'll talk about what you put in there. Otherwise, enjoy the chat. Drop your comments and thoughts. I'll try to check in there every once in a while. If you enjoy the video, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notification. But let's go. Let's get in it. Let's get in it. This season for the Houston Rockets was an incredible season, and I kept telling everybody, when you want to know who Asar Thompson can be, look no further than his twin, Amen Thompson. When you want to know what Asar Thompson can be, look no further than his twin, Amen Thompson. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up to just kick this off is because he was probably the best player in last night's game when it comes to the Houston Rockets. Um, Let me see. NBA game. I'm gonna pull it up right here because I want you guys to see what he was able to do yesterday. I want to read off this stat line. Um, I'm gonna pull it up in NBA.com. NBA. Let's go like this. And some of y'all tell me, what did you see from Amen Thompson last night? Tell me what you saw. Because what I saw was a future superstar. What I saw was someone who clearly has the ability to be the best player on the floor in a playoff game, in a championship game, much in the way that we saw game 6. For those of us who remember game 6 for the Detroit Pistons, there were stretches where Asar Thompson was the best player on the floor. He was absolutely everywhere. His ability to get into absolutely everything, steals, blocks, rebounds, fast breaks, assisting, scoring, getting to the rim, putting pressure on the rim, incredible amount of pressure on the rim, being able to get to the free throw line, to create his own shot. The only thing that prevents the Thompson twins from creating their own shot is them. There is no player you are sticking on them that can prevent either of them from getting into their shot. Kevin Williams, what's good, man? I think this is the first time I've seen you here. Appreciate you jumping on with me. Yeah, facts. Uh, Amen Thompson and Asar Thompson are so closely related. Asar, I would say he's only far behind his brother in terms of productivity. Not talent, not ability. Their handle, really close. The better handle that you heard about Amin Thompson having than Asar was not by far coming into the draft. But there are two things. I would say there's two things offensively. There's really okay. I'll put it this way: there are a lot of things that you can improve in the NBA if you have a work ethic that you should be able to improve pretty quickly. Your handle is one of them. And there was a video that came out of Asar Thompson working on his handle, and you see he's an incredibly hard worker. His handle is just about where Ahmed Thompson's is. The confidence comes with the reps. The confidence comes from the opportunities. The confidence comes from getting the minutes in high leverage situations. Ahmed Thompson having that game against the Boston Celtics is what allowed him to step into this game seven and absolutely take over and dominate. Something I want to point out. Ahmed Thompson shot 9 of 16 from the field. 9 of 16, 56% from the field in 37 minutes. He was the most effective scorer on the team. Fred VanVleet was solid too, 6 of 13, 46%. Alperen Şengün, 39%, 9 of 23. Now, some of their lack of shooting between Fred and and Alperen Şengün had to do with fatigue. Straight up. Had to do with fatigue. Um, Amin Thompson is just a naturally springy athlete, and you see how that translates. And I want to make this first point. You see how athleticism translates. You see how in the playoffs, when you are exhausted, when it is a knockdown, beat up, um, physical, tough playoff series, being a naturally gifted athlete works to your benefit in a major way. In a major way. The way that Asar Thompson, and I'm going to rewind it for us a little bit so we can talk about Asar comparing it. But I want to finish reading the stat line for Ahmed Thompson first. But you see the way in the playoffs, having that natural athletic gift can allow you to take advantage of guys who are just tired, who are tired. When you're a veteran, when you're somebody who's been in the league for a while, when you're not as gifted of an athlete, and you get tired, how you slow down looks completely different than how the naturally gifted athlete slows down. The naturally gifted athlete can slow down and still use a fast, quick twitch first step and blow past you. Somebody who's an average athletic player, like let's say, I wouldn't say Cade is average, but Cade is a little bit above average. Cade is like DeMar DeRozan athleticism versus like a Zach Levine athleticism, right? De'Aaron Fox. That quick twitch, that springy explosiveness is something that's just totally different. And you see it in the playoffs. That's why it's so important. So when you look at the Detroit Pistons roster, you look at who are the guys who play like that. You got Asar and Jaden Ivey. All right, put a pin in that. Put a pin in that. All right, I'm gonna read the rest of the stat line for Amin Thompson. Not only was he 9 of 16 for 56% from the field, but he shot 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Had 9 rebounds, 3 offensive, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Had 24 points, led his team in scoring. Now I want to go to what Asar Thompson put up. I want to go to what Asar Thompson put up. I believe the game was on, what was it, Friday? Second. Asar Thompson. Let me see if it'll load this. It's not loading. Let me see. Pull it up here. See real quick. Does anybody remember the stat line for Asar Thompson? I want y'all to. Okay, it's not pulling it up here. What we saw from Amin Thompson yesterday was somebody who could dominate, and I talked about that before. The Detroit Pistons have 2 of those guys. The Detroit Pistons have 2 of those guys. Asar Thompson and Jaden Ivey. What we saw from Jaden Ivey in the first half of the season, let's be real, the first half of that first half, Jaden Ivey was figuring himself out. He came in bigger, more explosive, more determined to get downhill into the free throw line, and more resigned to play off of Cade Cunningham, which meant he was working out his chemistry with Cade Cunningham. He was figuring out how to pick his spots. And we saw that at times, it almost seemed like they had this Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown type of situation where one of them got going and the other one wasn't. One of them was taking over and dominating, the other one was kind of sitting back and doing other things. But as the first half of the season went on, especially going into late November, early December, we began to see Jaden Ivey assert himself more and more and more, whether Cade was rolling or not. And at times we saw that Cade Cunningham would see that Ivy had it rolling and he would begin to defer to him. Begin to say, hey, keep going, bro. Keep going. Keep going. Because your ability to get downhill playing off of me, playing off of Cade Cunningham, was something that was able to exploit defenses in a way that nobody else on the team at the time was doing. No one else on the team at the time could exploit defenses the way that Jaden Ivey could, especially alongside Cade Cunningham. The attention that Cade drew allowed Ivy really carte blanche within the offense. Whatever he wanted, he was able to get. That's what that means, right? When we think about the makeup of these Detroit Pistons and we contrast it with the Houston Rockets, what we begin to recognize is that the Detroit Pistons, they have a core. And when I say a core, I mean talent. Talent, like elite level talent, that you can legitimately say their games translate to the playoffs. Their game translates to the playoffs. I did a short last night, kind of not a mean "I told you so," but something that I've been saying for a long time, that Jalen Green isn't yet built for the playoffs. I say yet because he has a strong work ethic, but his early developmental years, Houston undermined his development in terms of winning style of play. He was playing alongside Kevin Porter Jr. John Wall was there for a year, and then they let John Wall go. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. I thought what Houston should have done was drafted. They should have drafted Evan Mobley instead of Jalen Green. Then it would have been Evan Mobley, Alperen Şengün, Kevin Porter Jr., and John Wall. Because John Wall was the mentor for Kevin Porter Jr., had him reined in. Kevin Porter Jr. is an elite talent. All that's to say is Jalen Green still hasn't been able to solidify himself as the guy to build around for the playoffs. He hasn't. And this playoff performance, especially in game 7, only brought it further to light. You have to recognize Cade Cunningham, when he had a bad game in the playoffs, still looked like the best player on the court. On a bad game, Cade Cunningham was absolutely dominant. Was absolutely dominant. That's the difference. On a bad game, he attracted 4 to 5 defenders. On a bad game, on a bad game, Cade Cunningham had the type of gravity. Despite being, I think he was like 0 for 6 from the three-point line at the time, at the end of game 6. How many defenders jumped on him for that last second shot? About 3 or 4. That's the difference. That's the difference. The Detroit Pistons have that guy. But then you look around and you say, well, who's the second guy? Well, Fred VanVleet. But should Fred VanVleet ever be your number 2 for a potential championship contending team? And the answer is hell no. The answer is hell no. He should not. There's no way Fred VanVleet should be your second option on a championship team, let alone, like in this playoff series, the first option. But then you look at who the Detroit Pistons have, the aforementioned Jaden Ivey. Quick twitch, 6'5", lead guard. I'm not calling him a point guard. He's a lead guard, meaning that he can do some distributing. He can lead your offense. He can be a fulcrum. He has the ability to play make and facilitate to others. But more than anything, he's a shot creator. He's a shot creator. He's somebody who can dominate for stretches with the ball in his hand. That's our number two. And this is all before we get to our number three. This is all before we get to Asar Thompson. When you saw what Asar Thompson was able to do in that last game, I'm going to read you some comparative stats. Amin Thompson shot 9 of 16, over 50% from the field, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal and a block. Asar Thompson had over 50, I think he had, Ahmed Thompson played 39 minutes. Asar Thompson played only 22 minutes in that game 6, which I'm going to be honest, I understand everybody's critique to JB. Why didn't you play him more? Because Jalen Brunson in that fourth quarter was 0 for 5 from the field before he hit that last shot. He was 0 for 5 from the field. He was absolutely smothered. Asar Thompson never allowed Jalen Brunson to get loose, ever. But let's look at the rest of the stats. Asar Thompson shot 5 of 7 from the field, 71%. He got to the free throw line 10 times, shot 7 of 10 from the free throw line, had 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, 2 blocks, finished with 17 points. That was in 22 minutes. In 22 minutes, he put up that stat line. 22. You have to extrapolate this to what we're going to see next season. Asar Thompson is going to average 32 to 35 minutes a game next season. My man Mike, Amin has more guard skills. Yeah, he does. He does. However, Asar is not far behind. Asar Thompson is not far behind. Let's be 100%. It's a difference of situation more than anything. You have to understand the reason why Amin Thompson developed as a point guard and Asar developed as a shooting guard in the Overtime Elite program throughout high school was literally because they had to assume some sort of roles. They're the same height, almost literally the same athletes. There's a fraction of what differentiates them. A fraction. So small. It's like trying to differentiate between like Josh Smith and LeBron. It's like, okay, there's a difference, but crazy athlete. They can't both be point guards. Facts. And so they had to assume roles to have that chemistry. But the skill level, what they could do was very similar. And as I said at the beginning of this video, that some of the skills that are very easy to improve upon if you have the work ethic and the opportunity is ball handling. Ball handling. It's not a hard skill to develop if you have the work ethic and you get the opportunity and you have confidence. Yeah, Sar's ball handling is a little bit looser, but if you watch videos of him training for that handle, you see that he's doing an incredible job. You see that he's doing the stuff that point guards are doing. You see that he is developing everything that it takes to develop a bag. Asar Thompson, by year five, is going to be MVP candidate. By year 5, he's going to look like he could be the best player in a playoff series. By year 4, we'll see it clearly. By next year, we'll have major flashes. In the same way that we saw in Game 6, we saw this major flash like, whoa, Asar is absolutely dominant. Yeah, he's always had that. He's always had that. He just needed to put it all together, find the confidence, and then acclimate it to the playoff intensity. There's a lot that we can recognize is similar from the Houston Rockets to the Detroit Pistons, but I would say that the Pistons are further ahead, much further ahead than the Houston Rockets. You see, another person I want to analyze a little bit is Alperen Şengün. Alperen Şengün had a good playoff performance against the Golden State Warriors. He had a good performance. I don't want to call it great, and I don't want to minimize what it means to be the focal point of an offense, what it means to be the main uh, uh, playmaker, an offensive fulcrum, the attention that you have, the decision making that you have to do, the IQ, how fast you have to read the game and adjust to what the defense is doing. And especially when you're playing up against an elite, absolutely elite, all time great defensive big front court player in Draymond Green. Not to mention Jimmy Butler was there as well. So when we think about Jalen Duren, who I keep saying can be Alperen Şengün, Jalen Duren can be Alperen Şengün. Please believe me when I say that. He is not far away. And we saw that a little bit. But I'll say this. What Jalen Duren has been developing this season is the cerebral portions of what we see from Alperen Şengün's game that everybody kind of loves. The playmaking, facilitating, the ability to dice up the defense with passing, to be a short role player, to be someone that they can utilize in pick and roll type of situations, to be the guy who can run dribble handoffs and set up shooters, um, to get the guards involved, to free them off the ball and hand it off to get them on the ball. He has developed a lot of the utility aspects of his game. But I'll say this, he's still a beast offensively. And that is something that I'm still waiting to be unleashed. But what we noticed in this game, and this is what we can really kind of compare and contrast when it comes to their games, is that you have to have a jump shot. When you get into the playoffs, you are going to face elite defensive bigs. Whether it's next season, let's say they face Orlando in the playoffs. Wendell Carter Jr. is an elite defensive big with guys like Goga Bitadze coming off the bench. They got, what's his name, Jonathan Isaac. They're going to have Franz Wagner. They're going to have an elite defensive front court. You look at the Miami Heat, Khalil Ware will be a year older and more developed. You got Bam Adebayo. You look at the Boston Celtics, Al Horford, if he's still around. Kristaps Porzingis. Jason Tatum could play good defense. Whether it's the New York Knicks with Mitchell Robinson, right? Guys like that who can play you physical. Whether it's teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers who have Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. Whether it's the Milwaukee Bucks, you get the point that I'm making. Is that when you have elite defensive front court players that you're going against, it is going to force you to be able to take what they're willing to give you. And when you are elite at scoring around the rim, they're going to give you that little short mid-range jump shot. Alperen Şengün hesitated to take that shot in game 7. He hesitated. And that was all the Warriors needed. I'm not putting the blame on him, but I am pointing out that his hesitancy to take that shot allowed the defense to sit back at the rim. And they were able to crowd and smother Jalen Green's and Fred VanVleet's forays to the rim. Not Amen Thompson, who's an elite athlete and has the physical ability to finish through it. At the same time, they smothered the rest at the rim. This is why it is so important for Jalen Duren to develop that jump shot. They should lock Asar, Ron, JD in the gym with Fred Vincent this offseason. I think they all will be. I think they will all be in the gym with Fred Vincent. And this is why I keep telling you guys, when you think about who is going to be on this team for their future, who is going to be a part of their core, this is where you separate the Detroit Pistons from the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets have a few guys who are for sure a part of their core for the future, not just the present, right? Fred VanVleet, the present, right? Dylan Brooks is the present. The future, Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson. They don't know if it's Jalen Green. Maybe Tari Eason, maybe. But we saw what he looked like when the lights got hot, when the lights got big, when they got bright. Jabari Smith Jr., as well. The Detroit Pistons should already know. Jalen Duren's game translates. Jalen Duren will never be this bad. And I'm not calling him a bad player. I'm saying he is only going to be and get better for the next 10 years. He's 21 years old. For the next 10 years, till he's 31, 32 years old, Jalen Duren will be significantly better year after year after year. Just like Jaren Jackson Jr., he's not going to get into foul trouble. He's going to get better. Jaren Jackson was notorious for getting into foul trouble early in his career. Notorious. And now we see he's able to stick in the game. Jalen Duren will do the same. And as he develops his jump shot, his offensive arsenal, attacking defenses, his ability to impose his will on the game, you're going to start seeing 15 and 12 be the normal for Jalen Duren with maybe a couple blocks and getting to the free throw line abundantly. His baseline from this point forward is 15 and 12. That's what Duren is going to be. And when he has it rolling, you're going to see 22 to 25. I think he's going to have seasons where he's getting between 22 and 25 points per game, where he's going to look like an all NBA performer. He's going to look like an all-star. This is what the future holds for the Detroit Pistons. So when we look at what we saw from the Houston Rockets, and let's be clear, the New York Knicks are a better team than the Golden State Warriors. Let's just get that out the way. Much better, significantly better. What we see from the future for the Detroit Pistons is that the East is going to be wide open as Milwaukee ages, as the Knicks age, as the Celtics age, even if it's just Al Horford and Drew Holiday. Those two retiring over the next year or two completely reshapes that team. Completely. Whether it's teams like the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler's already gone, Bam might not be far behind. Whether it's teams like the what's the other team that's getting a little long in the tooth? The Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis. JD needs to do a summer with Hakeem Olajuwon. No, he doesn't. I think everybody says that. Everybody says that. And I don't think so. Not everybody can be Dream. Like let's just be real. Let's just be real. You can watch and you can observe what Jalen Duren needs to do is something that Evan Mobley did. And some of you guys may not have been watching what I was looking for this offseason. I tell you, I used to coach for about 12 to 15 years. I look for different things. I look at different things. What I looked at is I said, first of all, Team USA was poorly constructed. The whole Nike agenda and, the last hoorah of the last regime of the NBA. I get it. You wanted LeBron and Steph and them, AD and okay, I get it. I get it. But the future of the NBA, especially at the big position, they completely left out. Chet Holmgren and Evan Mobley are the future front court of the NBA when it comes to Team USA. They completely left them out. But something that I would point out is I kept asking myself, where is Evan Mobley? Where is Evan Mobley? And what I kept watching was Evan Mobley in these pickup runs against what looked like trash competition. Now, I'm not calling him trash. I'm saying like he wasn't in the Rico Hines where he's playing up against other NBA teams who are getting in summer runs. He wasn't playing against other great bigs. He wasn't in the lab to that degree. What he was in pickup runs where he could just dominate the ball the entire time. He was able to get the reps to familiarize himself with just dominating offensively the entire time. I'm watching. I'm like, why is he going up against Karis LeVert? Like, it don't make no sense. Like, why this guy? And when I recognize, oh, look, he's not only getting the rebound, he's bringing it up the court. Then he's giving you a move at the top of the key, through the legs, behind the back. He's spinning. He's creating shots. He's playmaking. He's facilitating. He's doing all this work with the ball to develop his confidence. And not just his confidence, but his rhythm, his ability to naturally flow into playing offense as an offensive focal point, as a fulcrum of the offense. We see now Darius Garland is out. Evan Mobley is able to be your number two for a potential championship team. They lost to Indiana because they have other holes, and Indiana's at full strength and they're playing really well. But it's to say, Evan Mobley's progress this year, a lot of people want to go, oh, Kenny Atkinson. Stop. If Cleveland loses in this second round series against Indiana, we need to revisit that conversation around hiring him and firing JB Bickerstaff. Just off GP. Just off GP alone. Just off GP. Once again, for those of y'all just jumping in the chat, this is an interactive chat. So please throw down your thoughts in the chat section. I will sometimes see and try to comment off of it. If you would like me to comment on your specific chat comment, throw me a super chat. I really appreciate all the love and support. Smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. What we saw from Evan Mobley last offseason, last summer, was him developing the confidence in his bag and his rhythm and comfort for going into it so that he could sustain it through a full season. That was not Kenny Atkinson. That was him. That was his hard work that we all saw progressing. They fired JB Bickerstaff unfairly, put the blame on Donovan Mitchell, and then hired who they wanted to be the face of coaching for a championship contending team. And I'll leave that there. Same way Steve Kerr, they desired to be the face of coaching for Team USA, even though Tyronn Lue is 12 times the coach Steve Kerr is, along with Eric Spoelstra. But we'll just leave that there. All that's to say is that's what Jalen Duren needs to be doing this offseason. Just hoop. Just hoop. Look, yeah, you can work on your jump shot. You're going to do that. He's got a bag. He's got the ability to take you off the bounce. He's got the ability to shoot a 10 to 15-foot jump shot. He has the ability to score in the post. I've seen him with up and unders, jump hooks, turnaround fades, pull up jump shots. I've seen him with the bump, shoot over the top, fade away from 8 feet. I've seen him do all the, reverse layups on the opposite side. He's got the athleticism, the length, 7'5" wingspan. He's built like Adonis. He is an incredible athlete, player. He has the footwork. But does he have the comfort and the confidence to play at that level? That's what I see he needs to graduate to, where he believes he can be an offensive fulcrum, where he can step into training camp and JB Bickerstaff can look at him and go, oh, shoot, he could be scary. He can be an offensive fulcrum. And when I say offensive fulcrum, that is somebody you can consistently give the ball to make positive plays for your offense that allows you to score easier. Yes, Cleveland's Cleveland's mishap was the Detroit Pistons' blessing. Duren has decent form and shoots free throws well. I expect it to translate to a little short midi later. Yeah, maybe work on a low post move, man oh man. No, he has low post moves. Watch his highlights. Watch his highlights. He came in. I saw him as a rookie with low post moves. I saw him in Vegas Summer League with low post moves. And I mean the reverse pivots, the up and unders, all of it, finishing with both hands. He has all of that. Right now, he just needs to get comfort and just utilizing it nonstop. I think that's something that Asar Thompson needs to do also. Yeah, Duren's footwork, it's phenomenal. It's really good. It's really good. He just doesn't have that confidence. But I think that was intentional. JB Bickerstaff was like, look, what we want to focus on is this. This is what we want you to focus on. Duren, and that was the utility aspect of his game, being able to facilitate, play make, the ability to set guys up, strong screener, pick and roll type of deal. He elevated that part of his game to be just as on par with the rest of it. I think we see it unlocked over the next 2 seasons. I don't even think necessarily we see it next year to be dominant. He'll have more flashes next year, consistent flashes. But I think the year after is when he looks dominant, when he looks like a clear all-star. All that's to say, the Detroit Pistons are far better than what we realize. When we see what Asar Thompson did in Game 6, what Amen Thompson did in Game 7, we see what we can expect from Asar Thompson next year. What we saw from the first half of the season in Jaden Ivey, We can expect to see that in spades for for my spades players out there. We'll see it in spades next year. That's why when we think about free agency, when we think about the draft, when we think about what this team is going to do in the offseason, we have to recognize we have to project what the core is and what they're going to be contributing. Ron Holland and his shooting ability, what he was able to show you throughout this season, even throughout the playoffs, he was able to knock down threes. He's going to be someone who can consistently knock down threes next season. He's going to knock down and hit probably at least a little over one. I would say if I had to project, he's going to shoot at least about three threes a game, a little over three threes. And then he's going to make a little over one three a game. Expect his percentage to be somewhere around like 33% next season. But he's going to average about 10 points or more a game coming off the bench. Marcus Sasser, I think, is going to look a lot like what Dennis Schroeder, a mix between Dennis Schroeder and Malik Beasley next season. Not the facilitator uh, uh, that Schroeder was, but the shot maker. I think Marcus Sasser comes in and he's absolutely dominant. He's the spark plug that we saw Houston did not have. Houston didn't have a guy off the bench who was like, you know what, the offense is getting bogged down. I got you. I got you. That might be one of the small moves that Houston can make. Go out and get a Jordan Clarkson. Go out and get that guy. Go out and get a Colin Sexton if you can. But go get a Jordan Clarkson. Go get a guy who can come in and get you 15 to 20 off the bench as a sixth man. If the Houston Rockets had a sixth man, Tyree Eason was their de facto sixth man, but he's not a go get you a bucket sixth man. Right? And I think that that's something that they need to add to that team, and it can pay huge dividends. But when we compare it to the Detroit Pistons roster, Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore. No, I mean Reed Shepherd. If you watched him this year, he was great in the G League for stretches. When he would get playing time in the regular season, he would just look like not a deer in headlights, but like it was still too fast for him. Guys are too good. He's going to take another year. He'll be a lot better next year, but it's going to be a while before he breaks through to look like a starting level. Because that's what a six man is, someone who could potentially start, but they're the first guy off the bench. And definitely and when it comes to Cam Whitmore, that's a whole other conversation. He just doesn't get it. He doesn't get that you have to do other things than score in the NBA. You got to rebound. You can't be 6'7" and you don't rebound. You can't be 6'7", physical, great athlete, and not play defense, especially for Ime Udoka. We don't have that problem in Detroit. We don't have talented guys who haven't bought in to what Detroit basketball is about. But this is what I will say. Whoever they bring in needs to be Detroit basketball. Right? I don't think they need to go out and get a big free agent. I don't think they need to really trade for anybody. I like Jabari Smith Jr., um, especially if you can get Jabari Smith Jr. without giving up uh, Tobias Harris. I love Tobias Harris's leadership. I love his timeliness, always knowing the right thing to do in the right moment. I love a lot about his game. I don't think we need to force a trade. I think what we need to do is bring in Detroit basketball people. I like Jabari Walker from Portland. He's somebody I have my eyes on. I like Amir Coffey from the Clippers. Also like Chris Dunn from the Clippers. Guys who are accustomed to winning, guys who play winning basketball, guys who play physical, defensive minded, and can contribute on both ends. These are the guys that I want to see us bring in. These are the guys that I want to see who bring a level of physicality that the New York Knicks, if we're honest, exposed about the Pistons, that they didn't have physical guys who could go toe to toe with you in terms of throwing blows. Um, Let me see. Oh yeah, it doesn't pass well. That was in his scouting report. Chiefy Holiday was good, my man. What would you like to see Cade work on this offseason? Um, and I'm gonna wrap up the video, so getting your comments quick. I'm gonna wrap this up. I gotta go drop my kid off. Um, Cade this offseason, I would love him to work with. Who would I love him to work with? Maybe a Sam Cassell. Maybe I was watching somebody in the playoffs. I'm trying to think of who it was. Uh, Shucks. It'll come to me. Cade Cunningham needs that's who he needs to work with. There's a coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. Trying to think of his name. He works with LeBron, Kyrie Irving. He's an assistant coach. Light skinned brother. I forget his name. Somebody look it up for me. But he specifically works on player development. And all he does is he breaks down positioning, footwork, understanding leverage so that you can get into your shot pocket. So you can get into a place of getting your defender, Phil Handy. Phil Handy. That's who I want Cade to work with this offseason. He works with the elite of the elite scorers. He doesn't just build you the skill, he understands the philosophy and the science behind being a great scorer. That is what Cade Cunningham needs to work with. He needs to be able to work with somebody who can make the game easy. That was who I saw, Anthony Edwards. When we saw what he was doing in terms of footwork and getting into his shot, being able to set up his defender to be able to create his shot in small pockets. He didn't need 12 dribbles. He didn't need to go east and west. He didn't need to turn his back to his defender in order to create his shot. Now, yes, Cade shoots with a low arc. I think he can remedy that a little bit, but he needs to understand how to position his body, his footwork, his leverage, getting down the layers. He needs to lower his base many times so he can get lower and more explosive and keep his defender off balance to get him rocking in the opposite direction. Melo said he would love to work with Cade. Melo has that down in spades. Once again, a reference to my spades players out there. Shout out. Melo was always elite at, in a very simple manner, getting his defender into a position that gave him an advantage and he could get right into his shot easily without taking up much space on the court. The old school regime of players understood that you had to play within a box. When I say play within a box, generally on the court, as I told you I used to coach, you want at least about 15 feet of spacing between you and the next offensive player. That is generally considered quality spacing. So if you're at the top of the key, at that point position, the next player closest to you should be that free throw line extended, what we call the wing. And the closer you get to the wing as the person with the ball, the closer to the corner the person who was on the wing needs to be to maintain that spacing of about 15 plus feet. So when you think about the spacing on the court as an offensive player, you generally will have about a 10-foot window box diameter in which to create your shot. If you need to go outside of that box to create your shot, it's not effective. That means that in order to create your shot, you will put yourself into a position where you are being challenged by a help defender, which is how the New York Knicks were able to smother Cade Cunningham many times. That they could put Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges on the wings. And because he would either have to turn his back to his defender to create his shot, or he was going east to west a lot, he was constantly running into help defense. And that prevented him from getting his shot off many times and allowed OG Anunoby to crowd him. But what you see from guys like Anthony Edwards, Kyrie Irving, now LeBron James, more and more, Luka Doncic, they can operate in that box, in that small box of about 10 feet. And the more skilled you are, like Isaiah Thomas, like Zeke used to do for the Detroit Pistons, you can operate in smaller and smaller boxes. Melo can operate in a box of about 5 to 8 feet. He was elite. He did not need much space to get a quality shot off or to get past you. He used his strength, he uses footwork, first step, etc. That's who I want Cade Cunningham to work with. Now, when we think about the draft, we need to draft similar guys, guys that are physical, play both ways. There's a few guys I'm gonna get into draft content later. Don't worry, it's coming. It's coming. But I gotta hop off. I gotta drop my kid off. Appreciate y'all jumping in with me for this live. The Houston Rockets had a great series against the Golden State Warriors. They're going to have a great offseason. They still got to figure out who's going to be the fulcrum of their offense. It's not Şengün. It's not Fred VanVleet. And it's certainly not Jalen Green yet, potentially. I think they should make a move and try to trade for Devin Booker. I think he could be a great fit there, not for the Detroit Pistons. He replicates Cade too much. All that to say, hope you enjoyed the live. It's your man, 100 grand Ross, where the rock never stops. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button for me. It really helps out the channel. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. And if you made it to the end for me, put a basketball icon and then write Detroit basketball. And whatever comments you put, I'm going to try to respond to as soon as possible. Love y'all. I'm out. Peace.